Darren Price was 38 years old when he committed one of the most audacious casino heists in Las Vegas history. But if you had walked into the Quick Stop gas station on Flamingo Road any night between 2019 and 2023, you wouldn't have noticed him. You wouldn't have remembered his face. He was just the guy behind the bulletproof glass, sliding you your cigarettes and coffee through a metal tray, saying the same three words over and over. Have a good one. That's it. That's all most people ever heard from Darren Price. But what they didn't know was that every single night, while he stood behind that counter in his wrinkled blue polo shirt, Darren was watching. Watching the back entrance of the Solaris Grand Casino, one of the most secure gambling facilities on the Strip. He watched for 7 years, and on March 9th, 2023, he walked through that back door and stole $61 million. No weapons, no computers, no inside help, just patience, memory, and timing. Before we go any further, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop your city or country in the comments so I know where you're watching from, and hit the hype button to help this story reach more people. Now let's talk about how a broke gas station clerk pulled off the impossible. Darren? Yeah, I remember him. Quiet guy. Real quiet. That's what Marcus Chen told investigators when they finally came asking questions. Marcus managed the Quick Stop for 6 years while Darren worked the overnight shift. He sat across from Detective Sarah Rowland in an interrogation room at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, a cup of cold coffee in front of him. He'd come in at 10 p.m., make himself a coffee, sometimes two, and just stand there at the register all night. Didn't complain, didn't talk much. Sometimes I'd come in for the morning shift and find him doing crossword puzzles in the newspaper. Always the hard ones, you know? The Sunday puzzles. Marcus paused, rubbing his temples, still trying to process what had happened. One time I asked him why he didn't just look up the answers on his phone. You know what he said? He said, "What's the point if you already know the answer? The fun is figuring out the pattern." That's the only personal thing I ever heard him say. Detective Rowland leaned forward. Did he ever talk about money? About being broke? About the casino across the street? Never. Not once. I mean, I knew he was struggling. We all were. I paid him minimum wage because that's all the owner would approve. But Darren never complained. Never asked for a raise. Never called in sick except for maybe twice in 4 years. He just showed up every single night and did his job. Did he have friends? Anyone who visited him at work? Marcus shook his head slowly. Nobody. In 6 years, I never saw a single person come in to see him. No girlfriend, no buddies, no family members. Nothing. It was like he didn't exist outside of that gas station. Sometimes I wondered if he even had a life, you know? Like maybe he just went home and stared at the wall until his next shift. And you never thought that was strange? In Vegas, half my employees are loners. People come here to disappear. I just figured Darren was one of them. Detective Rowland slid a photograph across the table. It showed Darren in his gas station uniform, taken from the security footage. Did he ever watch the casino? Stare at it? Take notes? Marcus studied the photo. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there's not much else to look at out there at 3 in the morning. The casino, the street, the parking lot. That's it. Did you know he had binoculars in the back room? Marcus's eyes widened. What? No. I never. Why would he need binoculars? That's what we're trying to figure out. Darren Price wasn't always invisible. He grew up in Henderson, Nevada, 20 minutes from the Strip. His mother, Linda Price, worked as a maid at the old Stardust Casino before it was demolished in 2007. She cleaned rooms for 17 years, 6 days a week, until her knees gave out and she went on disability. Darren was a good boy, Linda said during her interview with the FBI. She was 71 years old, living in a nursing home in North Las Vegas, her hands shaking as she held a photo of her son. Quiet, smart, always reading. His father left when Darren was 6. Just walked out one day and never came back. After that, it was just me and him. She twisted a tissue in her hands, her voice breaking. I worked so much. Double shifts, overtime. I wasn't home a lot. Darren spent a lot of time alone, but he never got in trouble. Never did drugs, never joined a gang. He just stayed in his room and read books, science books, math books, Those puzzle magazines. When did you last see him? FBI Special Agent Todd Harrison asked. Christmas, 2022. He came over for an hour, brought me cookies from the grocery store, the cheap kind. We talked about nothing. The weather, my medications, how the food here tastes like cardboard. He didn't stay long, maybe 45 minutes. Did he mention anything about his job? About the casino across the street? About money? Linda shook her head. He never talked about work. I asked him once if he liked it, and he said, "It's a job. That's all." I asked if he was seeing anyone, and he said no. I asked if he needed money, and he said he was fine. Harrison showed her a photo of stacks of cash, $61 million laid out on tables at the FBI evidence facility. Mrs. Price, did you know about this? Linda stared at the photo for a long time, her eyes filled with tears. My son did this? Yes, ma'am. She was quiet. Then she said, I worked my whole life and never had nothing. Cleaned toilets and made beds for rich people who didn't even see me. Darren worked his whole life and never had nothing. Maybe he just got tired of being invisible. Maybe he just wanted someone to notice him for once. Did he ever say anything like that to you? No, but I'm his mother. I know. Harrison leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Price, if Darren contacts you, you need to tell us immediately. Do you understand? Linda looked at him with tired eyes. He won't contact me. If Darren's gone, he's gone for good. That's how he is. When he makes up his mind about something, nothing changes it. Back in high school, Darren had been different. Not popular, but present, visible. He was wicked smart, said Rebecca Torres, who went to high school with Darren in the late 90s. She met Detective Rowland at a Starbucks on Sahara Avenue, still in her scrubs from her shift at Sunrise Hospital. Like scary smart, he could memorize entire pages of textbooks. We called him Rain Man as a joke, but honestly, it wasn't that far off. Rebecca sipped her latte, staring out the window. We had chemistry together, senior year. One time the teacher, Mrs. Liu, was explaining molecular structures, and Darren just stood up and started correcting her. Not in a mean way, just matter of fact. That's not quite right, he said. The bond angle should be 104.5 degrees, not 109. Mrs. Liu looked it up, and he was right. She was pissed, but he was right. He was always right. Did other students like him? Roland asked. Not really. He wasn't bullied or anything. He was just there, like a ghost. He'd sit in the back of class, never raise his hand, never talk to anyone. But if a teacher called on him, he always knew the answer. Rebecca remembered one specific incident from their junior year. We had this history teacher, Mr. Kowalski, who would give these impossible pop quizzes with like 50 questions about dates and names and battles. Multiple choice, fill in the blank, the whole thing. Darren would finish in 5 minutes. Perfect score every time. One day Kowalski accused him of cheating, right? Made a big scene in front of the whole class, said there's no way anyone could score 100% every single time without cheating. Made Darren retake the test in his office with no notes, no book, nothing. What happened? Darren finished in 4 minutes, got every single question right again. Kowalski had to apologize in front of the whole class the next day. It was humiliating for him, but Darren didn't gloat. He just sat there like nothing happened. Did you stay in touch after graduation? No, nobody did. He didn't come to reunions. Didn't have Facebook or Instagram or anything. It was like he just disappeared. I actually thought he might be dead until I saw his face on the news. She paused, shaking her head. You know what's crazy? When I saw the news story, my first thought wasn't, I can't believe Darren did that. It was, of course Darren did that. Because if anyone could figure out how to rob a casino, it would be him. But intelligence doesn't pay the bills in Las Vegas unless you're dealing cards or writing code. And Darren did neither. After high school, he drifted from job to job, never staying anywhere longer than a couple years. He worked at a coffee shop called Java Junction for 2 years before getting fired for being late too often. He was good at the job, said his former manager, Stephanie Moore. She talked to Detective Rowland over the phone, her voice tired. Made perfect espresso drinks. Never messed up an order, never gave wrong change. But he'd show up 20, 30 minutes late almost every day. I gave him warnings, lots of them, verbal, written, final. Finally, I had to let him go. Did he say why he was always late? He said he had trouble sleeping, said his brain wouldn't shut off at night. He'd lie in bed thinking about things and couldn't fall asleep until 4 or 5 in the morning. I felt bad for him, honestly, but I had a business to run. Next, Darren tried being a parking attendant at the MGM Grand but quit after 3 months. Too many people, he told the hiring manager when he turned in his resignation. Too loud. Then Target, where he worked in the stockroom for 8 months before being let go for missing too many shifts. Then Walgreens, where he lasted a year as a night stalker before quitting without notice. Then a pizza delivery place called Marco's, where he lasted 6 weeks. He delivered the pizzas fine, said the owner, Marco Benedetti. Never late, never got the orders wrong, but he didn't talk to customers, didn't smile, didn't make small talk. In the pizza business, personality matters. Tips matter. Customers complained that he was creepy. I had to let him go. By the time he was 31, Darren was living in a studio apartment off Boulder Highway, Unit 2B in a rundown complex called Desert View Apartments, even though there was no desert and no view, just a parking lot and a liquor store. 500 square feet, $450 a month. A mattress on the floor, a couch as someone left on the curb, a folding table, a chair, a lamp. He had nothing, said his landlord, Eugene Park. He walked Detective Rowland through the apartment after Darren disappeared, pointing at the empty spaces. When he moved out, I came in here thinking maybe he left stuff behind. You know, like most people do. Furniture, clothes, trash. But there was nothing. Just this. Eugene pointed at a closet. Inside were 50 crossword puzzle books, stacked neatly on the floor. That's it. That's all he left. No TV. Nope. No computer. Nope. No pictures. No personal items. Nothing. It's like he was never here. Eugene sat on the steps of the apartment building afterward, smoking a cigarette, still processing what his tenant had done. You know what's crazy? He paid rent on time. Every single month. Cash in an envelope slipped under my door on the 1st. Never late. Never complained about anything. Toilet broke once, and I took 3 weeks to fix it because I was waiting on a part. He never called me, never texted, never said a word. Just waited. Most tenants would have called me 100 times, threatened to sue, withheld rent. Not Darren. He just waited. Did he have visitors? Rowland asked. Never. Not one. I was here 5 years while he lived here. Never saw anyone come see him. No friends, no family, no girlfriends. I'd see him come home from work in the morning, go into his apartment, and that was it. Sometimes I wouldn't see him for days. Did you ever talk to him? Once or twice, small talk. Weather, rent, that's it. He wasn't rude, just quiet, like he didn't want to be noticed. Eugene flicked his cigarette into the parking lot. If you had asked me to describe Darren Price before all this happened, I couldn't have done it. I saw him 100 times, and I couldn't tell you what color his eyes were, how tall he was, nothing. He was just a blur, and now he's famous. That's when Darren took the overnight job at the Quick Stop. September 2019, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 40 hours a week, $12 an hour, $480 a week before taxes, about $1,600 a month after taxes, rent, $450, utilities, $80, food, $200, bus pass, $60. That left Darren with about $800 a month for everything else. That's what Darren Price was worth to the world in 2019. But from where he stood every night, scanning lottery tickets and counting ones and fives, he had the best view in Las Vegas. He could see directly into the back operations of the Solaris Grand Casino, and that view was priceless. The Quick Stop gas station sat at the corner of Flamingo and Koval, kitty corner from the loading docks and employee areas of the Solaris Grand. It wasn't one of the famous casinos. No fountains, no pirate ships, no volcano, no celebrities. But it was big. 1,200 rooms, 4 restaurants, 72 blackjack tables, 190 slot machines. And according to public financial records filed with the Nevada Gaming Commission, It processed an average of $800 million in cash transactions per year. That's 800 million going in and out every year, every day, every hour. Cash comes in, cash goes out. Every single day, armored trucks would arrive at the back of the casino to drop off fresh cash and pick up yesterday's take. And every single day, Darren would watch from his position behind the counter at the quick stop. At first, it was just boredom, something to look at during the dead hours between 3 and 5 a.m., when nobody came in except the occasional drunk asking for cigarettes or the taxi driver buying an energy drink. But then Darren started noticing things, patterns. He kept these little notebooks, said Detective Sarah Rowland, the lead investigator who eventually caught him. She sat in her office at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, surrounded by evidence boxes, holding up one of Darren's spiral notebooks. Spiral notebooks, the cheap kind you buy at Dollar General for 99 cents. We found 41 of them in his storage unit, just page after page of times, dates, license plate numbers, names he'd overheard, guard rotations, delivery schedules. She flipped through the pages, shaking her head. This isn't casual observation. This is surveillance, professional-level surveillance, and he did it for 7 years. One page from Darren's notebooks submitted as evidence in the trial. Thursday, June 17, 2021, 2:14 a.m. Armored truck number 1, Brinks plate 4XYZ892, arrives south entrance 2:16 a.m. 2 guards exit, both carry sidearms, both wear vests. 2:18 a.m. Guards enter through loading dock, door 2:21 a.m. Security door props open, guard smokes, Hispanic male, 40s, bald, name tag, Rivera, 2:24 a.m. Truck departs 2:26 a.m. Second truck arrives, Dunbar, plate 7JKL 554, 2:31 a.m. Door still propped, Rivera still smoking, 2:35 a.m. Rivera finishes cigarette, closes door 2:37 a.m. Second truck departs. Another page from August 2021, Thursday pattern confirmed, 7 weeks consecutive. Truck 1 arrives 2:16 a.m., never later than 2:16. Rivera props door 2:19 to 2:21 a.m., always for smoke break. Door open average 14 minutes. No other guards patrol exterior during this window. Cameras cover loading dock but not doorway angle. Blind spot confirmed from gas station angle. Another page from November 2022. Rivera, Shuckers, Victor Rivera, 14-year employee, lives Henderson, drives Aero 9 Camry, license KJH 8834. Same Thursday routine for 18+ months, always props door, with cardboard box or brick smokes, Marlboro Reds, wears wedding ring, right-handed badge. Re 437. This wasn't casual observation. This was intelligence gathering. The thing you have to understand, Detective Rowland explained, is that Darren had something most criminals don't have. Time. He had years. Most heists are planned over weeks or months. Darren planned his over 7 years. He watched, he learned, he documented, and then he waited for the perfect moment. From his window at the quick stop, over the course of 7 years, Darren documented the exact arrival times of every armored truck delivery down to the minute. The full names of 17 different security guards, learned by watching their name tags through binoculars he bought at a pawn shop. The rotation schedules of the overnight staff, who worked Mondays, who worked Thursdays, who called in sick, who showed up late. The routes the trucks took coming in and leaving, south entrance via Caval, north exit via Audrey, always the same. The license plates of every armored truck that serviced the casino, the blind spots in the camera coverage, specifically a 3-foot section of the loading dock doorway that wasn't fully covered by any camera, the door that led from the loading dock into the counting room hallway, and most importantly, the one guard who propped that door open every Thursday night to smoke a cigarette, Victor Rivera. I didn't think it was a big deal. That's what Victor Rivera said during his interview with Casino Security on March 10, 2023, less than 12 hours after the theft was discovered. He sat in a windowless room on the 3rd floor of the Solaris Grand. Daniel Moss, head of security, across from him. Victor was 52 years old. He'd worked at the Solaris Grand for 14 years. Clean record, no write-ups, 3 Employee of the Month awards, 2 commendations, Perfect attendance for 6 years straight. It's just a cigarette, Victor said, his hands shaking slightly. I go out, I smoke for 5 minutes, I come back in. The door locks automatically when it closes, so I put something there so it doesn't close all the way. A box, a brick, a bucket, whatever's nearby. Daniel Moss stared at him. How long have you been doing this? I don't know, a while. How long is a while, Victor? I don't know. Few years, maybe? Moss leaned forward. Try to remember. This is important. Victor rubbed his face. Maybe 3 years? 4? I don't know. Look, nobody ever said anything about it. It's the back dock. There's nothing out there except trash and delivery trucks. No public access, no tourists, nothing. Every shift? Most nights, yeah. Thursday for sure, because that's when we get the big delivery and I need a smoke to relax. The other nights, sometimes. Moss pulled out a piece of paper and slid it across the table. It was a still frame from the security footage showing a man in a janitor's uniform pushing a cart through the prop door. Do you recognize this person? Victor squinted at the image. No, should I? This person walked through the door you propped open. This person stole $61 million. Victor's face went white. Oh my God. Did you see anyone that night? Anyone at all? Maybe? I don't know. I was looking at my phone. Some guy walked past. I thought he was janitorial. You spoke to him? I said, hey. He said, hey back. That's it. And you didn't think to ask who he was? To check his badge? Why would I? He looked like he worked there. He had a uniform. He had a cart. He looked like every other janitor. But Victor Rivera didn't know that someone had been watching him for 3 years. Someone who knew his exact routine. Someone who knew he propped the door open every Thursday at 2:19 a.m. Someone who knew that door led directly into the secure counting room hallway. Darren Price. Darren noticed the propped door on November 4, 2020, during one of his overnight shifts. He was standing behind the counter, binoculars in hand. He'd told Marcus they were for bird watching during slow hours. And he watched Victor Rivera exit through the southwest security door, prop it open with a cardboard box, and light a cigarette. Darren wrote in his notebook, Rivera props SW security, door 2:19 a.m. Smokes, returns 2:26 a.m. Door open entire time. Hallway visible. No cameras in immediate doorway. 3 nights later, Rivera props door again. Same time, same spot, same routine. Pattern confirmed. 6 months of observation. Rivera, Chonar, consistent, every Thursday. Door propped, 2:19, 2:35 a.m. average. 16-minute window, unsecured. 18 months of observation. Blind spot confirmed. Camera 7 covers loading dock. Camera 9 covers interior hallway. Neither covers doorway threshold. Gap, dojasa proxo 3.5 feet. 3 years of observation. Rivera will not stop. Routine to established. Weakness exploitable. Most people don't understand how casinos work, said Martin Delgado, a former casino security consultant who analyzed the heist for an industry publication called Gaming Security Monthly. He gave an interview on a podcast called Heist Stories 6 months after Darren's arrest. They think it's all cameras and guards and sensors, and yeah, those things exist. But the real security is routine. It's the fact that the same people do the same jobs the same way for years. Everyone knows everyone. You see an unfamiliar face, you notice. The podcast host asked, so how did Darren get past that? He didn't bypass the security. He walked through the hole that was already there. Victor Rivera created that hole by propping the door open every week for years. Darren just figured out when and how to walk through it. But what about cameras? What about badges? What about the guards? Cameras only work if someone's watching them in real time or if you review the footage later. Badges only work if people check them. Guards only work if they're paying attention. Darren timed it so perfectly that none of those things mattered. He was in and out in 90 seconds. By the time anyone reviewed the footage, he was already gone. But walking through the door was only half the plan. The other half was knowing what to take and when to take it. And for that, Darren needed to understand the casino's cash delivery schedule. Every casino in Las Vegas operates on a cash cycle. Money comes in from gamblers. Money goes out to winners. The casino keeps the difference. But all that cash has to be physically moved, counted, sorted, transported, deposited. For the Solaris Grand, armored trucks made deliveries 7 days a week, but the deliveries weren't equal. Mondays, light. The casino restocked after the weekend and prepared for the weekday lull. Tuesdays through Wednesdays, medium. Regular operations. Thursdays, heavy. The casino restocked for the weekend rush. High denomination bills, VIP cashier funds, premium tables, Fridays through Sundays. Light again. Mostly pickups, taking the weekend's take to the bank. Darren figured this out by watching the trucks and counting the bags. One bag, dug approximately $7 to $12 million, depending on denomination. Monday deliveries, 2 bags average. Tuesday deliveries, 2 bags average. Wednesday deliveries, 3 bags average. Thursday deliveries, 6 to 8 bags. Friday deliveries, 1 bag. Saturday deliveries, 1 bag. Sunday deliveries, 0 to 1 bag. Darren wrote in his notebook. Thursday, maximum cash. Target window, Thursday 2:15 to 4:45 a.m. Risk or higher guard presence. Reward under 50-80 memo potential, but he needed more than just the amount. He needed to know which bags to take. Not all casino cash is equal. Some bags contain 1s and 5s from slot machines. High volume, low value. Some bags contain 20s and 50s from table games, medium value. Some bags contain hundreds and even higher denominations from VIP rooms and high-stakes tables. Low volume, high value. Those bags were marked differently. Darren noticed this in July 2021. He watched through his binoculars as the guards unloaded bags from the Thursday delivery. Most bags were plain black duffel bags with yellow zip ties. But 2 bags had an additional marking, a small orange tag with the letters HR Prem printed on them. He wrote, HR Prem, chalked on high roller premium, smaller bags, handled more carefully, likely high denomination bills. He researched online. HR Prem wasn't standard industry terminology, but HR likely meant high roller and Prem likely meant premium. Those were the bags he needed to take. Over the next year, Darren watched every Thursday delivery and counted HR Prem bags. Sometimes there was 1. Sometimes there were 3. On March 9, 2023, there were 2, and those 2 bags contained $61 million in cash. Darren started preparing in earnest in May 2022, 10 months before the heist. He didn't quit his job. He didn't act differently. He didn't tell anyone anything. He didn't spend money he didn't have. He didn't change his routine. He just started collecting pieces. First, the uniform. On May 14, 2022, Darren walked into a Goodwill on Tropicana Avenue and bought a dark blue janitor's jumpsuit for $6. It didn't have any logos. It didn't match the Solaris Grand's cleaning company uniform exactly. Their official uniforms were navy blue with yellow trim and a logo on the back. But Darren's was close enough. Close enough is all you need at 2 in the morning, Detective Rowland noted. He also bought a plain baseball cap and a disposable face mask, the kind people wore during COVID. Not suspicious, practical. Next, the cart. The Quick Stop had an industrial cleaning cart in the back storage room that Marcus rarely used. It was old, rusty, bought years ago when the gas station used to have an attached convenience store bathroom. But the bathroom had been permanently closed in 2018, so the cart just sat there collecting dust. Darren asked if he could take it home. He said he needed it to clean his apartment, Marcus told investigators. I said sure, why not? It was just sitting there. I figured maybe he'd bring it back. He never did. Darren took the cart home to his apartment and spent 2 weeks modifying it. He built a false bottom into the main compartment using plywood from Home Depot, hinges from Ace Hardware, and wood glue. The false bottom was 3 feet deep and large enough to hold 2 duffel bags side by side. From the outside, the cart looked normal. Cleaning supplies on top, trash bags, spray bottles, rags. But underneath, accessible by lifting the plywood panel, was a hidden compartment. He tested it 50 times, lifting the panel, loading weight, closing it, making sure it didn't make noise, didn't look suspicious, didn't fall apart. Then he needed timing. This is where Darren's 7 years of observation became critical. He knew the armored trucks arrived every Thursday at 2:15 a.m. Always. He had 41 notebooks proving it. He knew Rivera propped the door at 2:19 a.m. Always. He knew the truck guards spent approximately 90 seconds checking paperwork with their backs turned to the staging area where the money bags were placed. He knew there was a 40-second window where the hallway was completely empty between the guards leaving and the counting room staff arriving. Everything had to happen in that 40-second window. He practiced at home, Detective Rowland said, walking through Darren's empty apartment months after his arrest. We found tape on the floor. He'd measured out the exact dimensions of the hallway, the staging area, the cart. He'd practiced the timing. He had a stopwatch app on his phone. No, wait, he didn't have a smartphone. He had an old digital watch. We found it in his apartment. He'd set the timer for 40 seconds and practiced moving bags, opening the cart, closing it, walking at different speeds. Darren practiced every night after his shift. Walk from point A to point B, 32 steps, lift false bottom, 3 seconds, remove 2 bags, 8 seconds, place 2 bags in compartment, 6 seconds, remove fake bags from compartment, 5 seconds, place fake bags on shelf, 7 seconds, close false bottom, 3 seconds, walk away, 32 steps. Total time, 68 seconds. He needed to shave off 28 seconds to stay within the 40-second window, so he practiced faster, smoother, more efficient. Lift false bottom, 2 seconds. Remove bags, 6 seconds. Place bags, 4 seconds. Remove fakes, 3 seconds. Place fakes, 5 seconds. Close false bottom, 2 seconds. Total time, 54 seconds. Close enough. Why Thursday? Because Thursday night deliveries had 6 to 8 bags total, making it easier to hide the fact that 2 were missing. More bags meant more confusion. Guards would spend less time checking each individual bag, because Thursday was routine. Rivera had been propping the door open on Thursdays for years. The guards were relaxed, comfortable, going through the motions. Because Thursday night was the slowest part of the week for late-night gas station traffic, meaning Darren could lock up the quick stop for 15 minutes without anyone noticing. On March 8, 2023, Darren made his final preparations. He filled the false bottom of his cleaning cart with shredded paper from the quick stop's recycling bin, mostly old newspapers and receipts. He bought 2 black duffel bags from a sporting goods store on Maryland Parkway. They cost $30 each. He paid cash. He filled those duffel bags with more shredded paper, weighted with sandbags to match the approximate weight of cash bundles. A duffel bag full of cash weighs about 40 pounds. Darren made sure his fake bags weighed 42 pounds each. He attached yellow zip ties identical to the ones the armored truck company used, which he'd bought in bulk online months earlier. He tested the weight, lifted the fake bags, moved them, made sure they felt real. Then he loaded everything into the cart, covered it with cleaning supplies, and wheeled it back to the quick stop. He was ready. He just had to wait for Thursday night. March 9, 2023. 10:01 p.m. Darren arrived at the quick stop for his regular shift. He drove his 1998 Honda Civic, parked in the same spot he always did, walked through the back employee entrance, and clocked in. Marcus was finishing up the evening receipts behind the counter. "Hey, Darren." "Hey." "Slow night. Register's balanced. Coffee's fresh. Someone spilled a Slurpee by pump 3, but I already cleaned it." "Thanks." Marcus grabbed his jacket and keys. "See you tomorrow." "See you." The door chimed. Marcus left. The parking lot was mostly empty, except for 3 cars and a pickup truck getting gas. Darren stood behind the counter, watching the clock above the register. 10:14 p.m. A woman in her 50s bought a pack of Marlboro Lights and a Powerball ticket. "Good luck," Darren said, sliding the ticket through the window. "Thanks, honey." 11:03 p.m. A guy in his 20s, visibly drunk, came in asking for the bathroom key. "Bathroom's out of order," Darren said. It had been out of order for 5 years. "Seriously?" "Yeah, sorry." The guy stumbled out, swearing. 11:47 p.m. A cab driver came in, someone Darren recognized. His name was Rashid. He came in 3 or 4 times a week during Darren's shift. Energy drink and beef jerky, Rashid said, placing a Red Bull and a Slim Jim on the counter. Darren scanned the items. $4.87. Rashid handed him a 5. Keep the change. Thanks. Rashid paused. You okay, man? You look tired. I'm fine. You always look tired. You should get more sleep. Darren smiled slightly. Yeah, I should. Midnight came and went. The gas station was quiet. Cars passed on Flamingo Road, headlights cutting through the darkness, but nobody stopped. 1 a.m. 2 tourists stumbled in, drunk, laughing about something. They smelled like alcohol and cheap cologne. Hey man, how do we get to the Bellagio from here? One of them asked. Darren gave them directions. West on Flamingo, left on Las Vegas Boulevard, keep going. Thanks, dude. You're a lifesaver. They left, still laughing. The store was empty again. 1:30 a.m. Darren took his cleaning cart from the back storage room and wheeled it behind the counter within easy reach. He'd already loaded the false bottom compartment with the 2 fake duffel bags, shredded paper, and sandbags. He put on a pair of latex gloves, the kind you use to pump gas. Nothing unusual. Lots of people wore gloves to handle money and gasoline. Then he watched the clock, and he watched the Solaris Grand loading dock across the street. He could see the lights, the empty parking lot, the loading bay doors. At 2:12 a.m., he saw headlights. The armored truck arrived right on schedule, pulling into the south entrance and backing into the delivery bay. At 2:14 a.m., the truck stopped. 2 guards got out. At 2:18 a.m., the guards entered the building through the loading dock door. At 2:19 a.m., Victor Rivera walked out the southwest security door, propping it open with a cardboard box. He lit a cigarette. Darren waited 30 seconds. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. Then he locked the front door of the quick stop, flipped the sign to back in 15 minutes, and wheeled his cleaning cart out the side employee exit. Nobody was in the parking lot. Nobody was on Koval Lane. Darren pushed the cart across the street, moving at a steady, unhurried pace. Just a janitor pushing a cleaning cart. Nothing unusual, nothing worth noticing. It took him 43 seconds to cross the street and reach the loading dock. Victor Rivera was still smoking, his back turned, scrolling through something on his phone. Probably Facebook, maybe Instagram. Darren walked right past him, pushing the cart through the prop door. Hey, Rivera said, not looking up. Hey, Darren replied. That was it. That was the entire conversation. 2 syllables each. Darren was inside. The hallway was fluorescent bright, sterile, and smelled like industrial cleaner mixed with cardboard and coffee. Darren could hear voices to his left, the counting room staff, muffled through walls and heavy doors. To his right, 30 feet away, the armored truck guards were at the metal staging shelf, their backs turned, scanning barcodes on their tablets and checking off items on a digital clipboard. The money bags sat on the shelf, 8 bags total, 7 regular black duffel bags with yellow zip ties, 1 larger duffel bag, also black, with a yellow zip tie and an orange tag that said HR Prem. Wait. 1. Darren's heart sank. His notebook said there should be 2 HR Prem bags on Thursday deliveries. He'd counted them for months. 2 bags, always 2. But there was only 1. He didn't have time to think. He had 40 seconds. He moved quickly but not frantically. His hands were steady. He opened the false bottom of his cleaning cart. The plywood panel lifted silently. He'd oiled the hinges 3 times. He grabbed the HR Prem bag from the shelf, feeling its weight. Heavy. 45, maybe 50 pounds. Good. He cut the zip tie with a small pocket knife he'd brought, pocketed the zip tie as evidence, and placed the bag carefully into the false bottom of his cart. 1 bag. Only 1. That wasn't the plan, but he didn't stop. He scanned the other bags quickly. 7 regular bags. He needed 1 more. Which one? He grabbed the bag second from the left, an arbitrary choice, pure instinct. Cut the zip tie. Placed it in the cart next to the first bag. 2 bags. Good. Then he took his 2 fake bags, filled with shredded paper and sandbags, and placed them on the shelf where the real bags had been. He attached new zip ties, identical to the ones he'd just cut, making sure they were tight and looked authentic. From a distance of 10 feet, you couldn't tell the difference. The entire process took 68 seconds. Darren closed the false bottom of his cart, arranged trash bags and cleaning supplies on top so it looked full, and turned around. One of the armored truck guards glanced at him. The guard was young, maybe 25, with short hair and a name tag that said Collins. "Trash pickup?" Collins asked. "Yeah," Darren said. His voice was calm, steady. Collins nodded and went back to his tablet, completely uninterested. Darren pushed the cart back down the hallway toward the exit, moving at the same steady pace. Not fast, not slow. Just a janitor doing his job at 2:30 in the morning. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He passed Victor Rivera, who was finishing his cigarette, still looking at his phone. "Have a good one," Rivera said. "You too," Darren replied. At 2:23 a.m., Darren Price wheeled a cleaning cart containing 2 duffel bags, one marked HR Prem, one regular, across Koval Lane and back into the Quick Stop gas station. Nobody stopped him. Nobody questioned him. Nobody saw. He unlocked the back storage room, wheeled the cart inside, and locked the door behind him. His hands were shaking now. Adrenaline. Relief. Fear. He opened the false bottom. He lifted out the first bag, unzipped it. Inside were stacks of $100 bills, bundled in plastic wrap with paper bands. Each bundle was $10,000. He counted quickly. 61 bundles in the first bag. $610,000. Wait, that wasn't right. HR Prem bags were supposed to have 7 to 12 million, not 600,000. He opened the second bag. More bundles. Many more. He counted 584 bundles. $5,840,000. No. Wait. He counted again, slower this time. The first bag, 61 bundles of $100,000 each. $6,100,000. The second bag, 550 bundles of $100,000 each. $55 million. Total $61,100,000. He'd done it. He'd actually done it. Darren sat on the floor of the storage room, surrounded by $61 million in cash, and started laughing, not loud, just a quiet, breathless laugh. Then he heard a car pull into the gas station parking lot. He stopped laughing. Darren moved fast. He couldn't leave the money in the storage room. Marcus would be back in 4 hours for the morning shift. He needed to move it. Now. He'd planned for this. At 1 a.m. before the heist, Darren had driven a rental van, rented under a fake name using a fake ID he'd bought online for $200, to the back of the Quick Stop and parked it in the employee parking area. Just another work van. Nothing suspicious. Now at 2:35 a.m., he began transferring the money. He loaded the 2 duffel bags into cardboard boxes he'd labeled motor oil, 10W30, and windshield fluid, bulk. He'd prepared these boxes weeks earlier, complete with fake shipping labels and packing tape. He carried the boxes out to the van, one at a time, moving quickly but not running. The gas station was empty. No customers, no cars, just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the distant sound of traffic on Flamingo. By 2:47 a.m., both boxes were loaded in the van. Darren locked the van, pocketed the keys, and went back inside the Quick Stop. He finished his shift like nothing had happened. At 3:15 a.m., a cab driver came in for cigarettes. At 4:02 a.m., a couple on a road trip stopped for gas and Red Bulls. At 5:30 a.m., Marcus called to say he'd be 15 minutes late. At 6:17 a.m., Marcus arrived and relieved Darren. "Quiet night?" Marcus asked. "Yeah," Darren said. "Pretty quiet. See you tomorrow." "See you." Darren walked out to the parking lot. He got into his Honda Civic, drove it home to his apartment, parked it, and went inside. He didn't sleep. He sat on his mattress, staring at the wall, replaying every second of the heist in his mind. The door, the hallway, the bags, the guard, the walk back. Had he missed anything? Had anyone seen his face? Had he left evidence? No, he didn't think so. At 10 a.m., he got up, took a shower, and drove the rental van to a storage facility called Sunset Storage in North Las Vegas. He'd rented Unit 447 3 months earlier under the name David Porter, paying 6 months in advance in cash. He unloaded the boxes, locked the unit, and drove the van back to the rental company. Then he went home and slept for 14 hours straight. The Solaris Grand Casino didn't realize anything was wrong for almost 7 hours. The counting room staff started processing the Thursday delivery at 3:00 a.m., but they didn't open the bags immediately. They logged them, scanned the barcodes, checked the paperwork, and placed them in the secure counting vault to be processed during the day shift when more staff were available. At 8:47 a.m. during a routine audit, Maria Ochoa, the counting room supervisor, opened the first bag to begin the counting process. She expected to see bundles of $100 bills. Instead, she saw shredded newspaper and sand. "What the hell?" she muttered. She dumped the bag onto the counting table. Shredded paper poured out, along with 5 sandbags, each weighing about 8 pounds. Her assistant, Tommy Nguyen, stared at the pile. "Is this a joke?" Maria grabbed the second bag, the one marked HR Prem, and ripped it open. More shredded paper, more sand. "Get Daniel down here right now," Maria said, her voice shaking. Daniel Moss, head of security for the Solaris Grand, arrived 6 minutes later, running down the hallway from his office on the 5th floor. "What's going on?" he asked out of breath. Maria pointed at the table. "Someone stole the money." "What?" "The bags. They're fake. It's paper and sand." Moss stared at the pile of shredded newspaper on the counting table. His face went white. "Lock it down," he said. "Lock everything down right now. Nobody leaves this building. I want every employee accounted for. I want security footage from every camera pulled from midnight to now. I want the armored truck company on the phone. Do it now." At 9:03 a.m., the Solaris Grand went into full security lockdown. Every entrance sealed. Every employee questioned. Every security camera reviewed. The FBI was called at 10:15 a.m. The Nevada Gaming Commission was notified at 10:47 a.m., and the media started reporting it by noon. Breaking news: the Solaris Grand Casino reports a major theft of an undisclosed amount of cash. Sources say the theft occurred during an overnight armored truck delivery. FBI is investigating. By 3:00 p.m., the amount was confirmed: $61 million. It was the largest casino heist in Las Vegas history.